You rejected Cambridge for Oxford.
I like Oxford more any day than Cambridge. Cambridge is nice. Yeah. Oxford is best. The bit about Cambridge is that Cambridge is better than Oxford.
As the counter become an engineer like you when I grow up. And his response was like, no, he will do anything but engineer.
And the conclusion was that it was bacteria which have already been there ever since. Bacteria is the real god.
I can't single out string theory because that would be like research is literally like, I don't know if you've seen the meme that's going around recently. You create a problem to solve it because it is literally like you can get negative results, you can get positive results.
In those so-called top-tier journals, in Nature, in Science, oh my God, people were publishing anything.
Would you still choose Oxford if prestige didn't exist?
I think at the time, probably not.
No, I would not have. Emma Watson, if you're seeing this, hug me.
Srishti, and you're listening to The Quad Pod. Hi, I'm Srishti and you're listening to The Quad Pod. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing what does it mean to be an Oxford PhD student. I'm really excited about today's episode because each of our guests have very different journey coming to Oxford. We're not just going to talk about science. We're going to talk about people, their stories and the paths that led them here. Without further ado, let me introduce the people stepping into the quad today. We have Priyanshu, a biology PhD student at University of Oxford. We have Ayush, a physics PhD student at University of Oxford. And we have Vidushi, a medical sciences PhD student at Oxford. 3 different journeys, 3 different scientific worlds, and 3 different experiences of Oxford. And that's exactly what the quad theory is about. Different perspectives, one intellectual space. So I want to start with a simple yet powerful question. What was the turning point in your life that led you to Oxford? And did you ever imagine you would end up here?
That's a good question.
I guess my perspective on that is line by Rumi. I would start with that. What you are chasing is actually chasing you. So in the end, I believe that if you're meant for it, you will just end up in the place that you belong.
That is quite profound. I'm glad you said that. Did you imagine you would come here or did you apply to Oxford thinking that was your final destination or did it just happen?
I mean, for me, I definitely second what Priyanshu said, that it's your destiny is kind of written, it's your journey to it. Because I remember visiting Oxford as like, not even a teenager, I think I must have been 9, and just looking up to like the big buildings and just resonating, thinking, you know what? I would love to study here. And then I think it came down to obviously the space, but also the PhD program that I was applying to. Because obviously it's like also about the research as well as it is about where you are. So yeah.
And my question to you, Ayush, is you have an interesting journey. You came here for your undergraduate degree. I think a lot of Indian students watching this, they're not exposed to Oxford as a university. So how did you find this university in the first place and did you always want to come here?
So I think I've been a big fan of Stephen Hawking since I was a kid. I've physics my whole life. And he started his degree at Oxford before going to Cambridge. And I think that always kind of gave me some inspiration to be like, oh, I should go to Oxford at some point. That being said, when it finally came time to apply to universities, I did not think I would apply to Oxford. I mean, I wasn't considering it as like, fine, I want to go to the US. I kind of forgot about Oxford until maybe like just before the deadlines for the admissions test. And then I was like, fine, you know what? Let me just apply. And then I applied and I got in. And even when I got in, I still didn't think I would necessarily come here. I was still kind of looking to go to the US. But I think it's hard to turn down Oxford, and that's how I ended up here from undergrad as well.
Is it because you like Stephen Hawking, you're wearing a black shirt? Black
I don't.
Sorry.
What should she?
I am a biochemist giving my hand at physics joke.
Oh, I just got the joke. Thank you.
Oxford PhD.
Clearly, no sense of humor.
And that is a great segue for me to bring up your undergraduate degrees. Priyanshu, I tried to memorize your journey, but I failed at it
Right.
because you had TIFR, BARC, IIT Mumbai,
Yeah.
University of Mumbai, a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah.
So, could you tell us what your undergraduate was like?
Oh, of course. So my undergrad was, so we have a very small cohort where we are funded by the government of India. And it's on a Center for Excellence in Basic Sciences by IIT, TFR, etc., etc. It's like more of, we talk a lot about, we have many, it's totally focused on research. And I guess that's where I started to develop interest in research, and I was like, pretty certain that I wanted to research. And maybe that's how I came to Oxford eventually. But I was studying chemistry.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my PhD in biology, so that was a kind of shift which I went through. But yeah, it has been nice fun from Mumbai via Cambridge to Oxford. It has been a huge transition for me.
Yeah.
But I guess it is working out very well for me.
Yeah. What is the story behind switching from chemistry to biology? Because although both of them are science, I think they're both quite different in the way you learn them or in the way they're structured.
Yes, of course, definitely. I mean, when I was telling, I was having a conversation with my one of uncle who is around 60 years old, and I was telling him that I do biology, I do biophysical chemistry sometimes. And he's like, oh, what's that? There's only organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, or this and that. And it's like, you're doing bullshit. Like, what's the future? And I'm like, dude, that's why you're a boomer. I'm Gen Z. That's the difference. So, right? It's also all now obviously merged into one, so it doesn't really. So I generally call myself an imposter in this department because I actually do everything. And quickly summing up the journey, I used to do a lot of quantum chemistry in my first year. Then COVID hit,
Yeah.
where I did not have access to high computation facilities. So I was like, I need to do something at home.
Yeah.
So then I started doing bioinformatics. I started looking at more biology, and maybe I just started loving it. Like, why was I not doing this before? Here
That's
I'm
a
right
really
now.
interesting story. Coming to Vidishi, I know you did your master's from University of Birmingham in genomics and cancer, but your undergraduate was actually in human biosciences. So could you tell us how that switch happened? And you were also studying and working at the same time. So I want to know your switch and how was the experience of studying and working, because it's sometimes hard to not give 100% of your time to education whilst you work.
Of course. So I think like I always had like an aptitude for science. So human biosciences and just disease I was always interested in. And then I think I wanted to kind of dive into the working world initially just to see what I'm interested in, what I'm not interested in. And I knew that I wanted to either end up as like a medical doctor of some sort, or that ended up in research, right? But I think my main goal was to make an impact. Like that's always been the end goal. So I think I was navigating whilst I was working what is the best possible way to do that. So I think whilst I was working in various cancer research roles and clinical trials on the compliance side of things. So whilst I was working at the University of Birmingham, I applied for a part-time master's, and that was so difficult. I think it was like a summer of applications. I could not find any professor that would actually offer me a part-time master's, and luckily, like shout out to my master's professor that actually made it happen. And I literally split my week in the middle. So like Monday, Tuesday, half of Wednesday I would work, and then Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday was a wet lab cancer and genomics project. It was fine. It was, I think, like, I don't know if you believe like if you want to do something you'll just make it happen, because obviously you just invest your time and you split your week in it. And obviously your master's a year, so obviously I did it part-time, so it took 2 years. But yeah, I think as soon as I started the master's, it was just a complete switch as like, okay, I need to be on this side of research. So then I started applying for PhDs, and yeah, here I am. So I think it was master's was more of a testing the waters as because I was already working in like research to be like, okay, do I want to be on the wet lab side? Yeah, I do definitely.
How long did it take for you to finish your master's, and do you think you've grown stronger in terms of personality after doing your master's?
Oh, that's a deep question. So part-time masters, it took me a full 2 years, and I worked during that. In terms of has it grown my personality? Definitely, I think obviously you learn a lot and that shapes you, and like I think your learning and intellectual growth is always going to happen. But I think personality growth as well, I think I really learned to manage my time. So I was already used to a busy schedule. So then obviously when I started a PhD, it wasn't like new news. Obviously, the demand of a PhD is nowhere in comparison to that. But I think it really just did help me put into what I've learned from like working, because the kind of experiences really do help you during your PhD to navigate XYZ. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. That's quite profound, and I think it's a lot inspirational. It's, at least to me, it's quite inspirational. Coming to Ayush, I keep going to you coming here as an undergrad. It's interesting because you choose a pure science, physics. I want to understand, were your parents okay with you pursuing physics? Because at my home, they were not okay with me pursuing biochemistry. They wanted me to be a doctor, even at Oxford. They're like, pursue a doctor degree in India compared to a biochemistry degree in Oxford. So, could you tell us about the IIT pressure, or did you ever end up writing IIT, or why you chose physics, and you actually managed to pursue your passion? So, I just want to hear about that.
It's interesting you ask that question. So, I think I was lucky that I grew up with pretty supportive parents. And even when I was a kid, my dad, I remember distinctly, I had this memory from when I was like 4 or 5 years old. My dad told me that he's an engineer. And I was like, I want to become an engineer like you when I grow up. And his response was like, no, you will do anything but engineering. Right? So since then, I've had in my head that I'm not going to be an engineer. But I am doing quantum engineering now, I guess, kind of. So, but regardless, so I think I realized that I like physics over time. And then I was applying for physics, and parents were quite supportive during the application process and everything. Now, that being said, when it finally came time to accept the offer, you always have those doubts, right? Because I think nobody in my family has had like a degree beyond a bachelor's, really. So for them, what is pure science? There's not much exposure to them. So they were like, what do you do with the physics degree? They thought all you can do is go teach at a local college. And there's nothing else to be done beyond that. So after I had my offer from Oxford, my dad was heavily pushing me to reconsider. Maybe like take a gap year or go to the US where I can switch to engineering or something like that. And I was quite firm in what I wanted to do because I know that this is my passion. And there was a bit of back and forth about that. But I think in the end, my dad realized that, yes, I think it's meaningful to me and it's worth doing. And he was very supportive, and my mom always was supportive as well. And it worked out in the end.
You won the argument.
As always. As always. Don't be easy,
So right.
Got it from Stephen Hawking.
It's my first thing.
Obviously,
Yes.
Oxford PhD.
Yes.
It's Cambridge, actually.
What?
Stephen Hawking is Cambridge.
Oh,
No, I
No,
think
no,
you were
you-
saying you
Oh,
were an
yeah.
Oxford PhD.
you never lose an argument. I know, he's my housemate.
Let's keep it for the debate section. Don't spend all your energy here. That was really amazing academic journey all of you shared. I want to know about your personal journey. So I'm going to start with your hostel life. Whenever I talk about my hostel life or my experiences at Oxford, people say you have to come to hostel in India. The peak of hostel life is actually in India. So Priyanshu, you having gone through that, I want to hear some stories, some juicy stories. I don't know, University of Bombay or IIT Bombay or anywhere really.
Oh, I have goosebumps just of thinking. How dark do you want the stories is the question.
Family friendly, anything. Podcast.
How NSFW is this?
I mean, you are the best judge for this. So.
Hostels are, they just build your personality. I was kind of a person who wouldn't say anything bad, like to anyone. So, like in Hindi, you have this word "sala." And I was like, oh my God, that guy said "sala." He's such a bad person. Gee, I won't talk to him. And then look at me. now.
Look at everything at home. All the time.
So no, basically, I was maybe too naive for the world. I was a bit too innocent, or like I just couldn't talk to anyone. I used to be so shy. And my mom used to say that, "What will this boy do after school? How will he survive the world?" The hostel builds you up. The interactions that you have, you're living with so many strangers 24/7 all the time, and doing all sorts, like living your life together, going outside, doing all the mischievous. You're just a teenager, just got out of teenage, and you're building yourself, building your personality. So just changes you. Some of the wild stories that we did, there's so many. So there was a checking once in the hostel, and it wasn't to be happened suddenly. Okay, and then there were a few alcohol bottles in one of my friends' room. And then he came running to me. I was like, "Oh, Prince, what should we do? What should we do?" And I don't know. It was 5 in the morning. I was almost asleep. I'm like, "Okay, let's do one thing. Let's just put them in the water cooler." There was the steel bottle, so like just put in the water cooler, and then who would know? And then when the checking post, when the warden goes away, we're like, "Okay, fine." We do that, and now it's 10 in the morning. We forgot about that, and we slept back again. A nerdy kid comes to us, and we're like, "Why does the water taste a bit sour?" I'm like, "Huh? What?" And I'm like, oh. One of the bottles leaked
Oh no.
in the water cooler,
Oh, no.
and many people who didn't drink were drinking alcohol that day.
I'm sure there was such an energy going
We go to the water cooler to correct it, and we see that the cleaners have 3 bottles out kept in front of us. We're like, "Damn, we are."
Oh my god.
And then obviously then there was a whole row of things happening in there.
Oh my god.
But anyways, it changes.
Yeah.
And
Were they all chemists by any chance?
the idea was for chemistry people. So
Yeah.
as you can guess. But well, the point being that it builds your personality. It helps you think like problem solving, like we did.
Yeah.
Now I know what not to do.
You have to be quick on your feet too. Think what happens when someone walks in when you're alcoholic.
So, but yeah, you. So if you want to be ever spanked by alcohol,
Yeah.
let me know.
Okay, my last question for this segment would be: did Oxford feel very far from your dreams or impossible at some point in your life? If you thought you wanted to go to Oxford, I think it's
Admittedly,
different.
no,
for you.
I think
Yeah.
I think I was quite self-assured growing up, and I think looking at forums online and what people do to get in, I think I had
Mhm.
a decent shot, and I think a lot of people do. Of course, a lot of it comes down to luck in the end.
Yeah.
But I think if you're capable, a lot of capable people are given a chance. A lot of capable people don't get in.
Mhm.
A lot of capable people get in. But in terms of having a shot, I think more people have a shot than they realize they do.
Makes sense.
I think it was so far for me
Uh-huh.
that I didn't know till my class 10th that UK is a country.
Okay. Yeah.
I just knew that, oh, London is a place.
Yes.
And then I guess it was later in my class 10th when I Googled that something known as Oxford. Then I got to know that, oh, there's a country
Mm-hmm.
known as England. I knew about England. I didn't even know about UK.
Yeah.
So that's how far it was for me. And then even during undergrad, we had this conception that, oh, you should apply to small universities. You have a higher chance of selection over there. So I was applying to all kinds of university. And then, like, we never even thought about Oxford Cambridge. Like, there's no point. Why would they take us?
Yeah.
Why would they take someone from India?
Yeah.
Why would Oxford choose Indians? We didn't know.
Yeah.
And I guess most of the people looking at this podcast would not know that you can actually make it.
Yeah.
Fund it.
Yes.
Like, they would pay you. So it's not really far, but we think that it's very far for
Yes.
us.
Yes.
But it was only when my mom said that just apply, what's like the max they will do is say no, and it's costing you almost no money.
Yeah.
And then I applied and got it. I'm like, damn. And then I Googled, oh, it's in the United Kingdom.
I'm glad you mentioned that because hopefully this podcast is a bridge between people thinking it's impossible to them actually at least applying for it, even if they don't make it if they want to.
The worst that can happen is that they can say no.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is at the worst. I think definitely, like, even when I was applying, it's such a dream, right? It is, like, advertised as, like, not even advertised, but it's just so, the propaganda around, like, you know, Oxford University and Cambridge University is that the acceptance rate is so low, so you're not gonna, you'll be so lucky to, like, get in. And it's true, it's a lot of luck attached to it. But I think, like, for me, when I was applying, I had no expectations. So I was more focused on, like, what I'll be doing and, you know, the actual program. And Oxford, obviously it was like, even still, I think like I'm in my final year and I still have imposter syndrome. Like, I'll look around and I'll be like, me here? Like, this is real, like, pinch me. But yeah, I think that never really goes away, but you learn to like work with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for anyone, it's such a big dream. But it is because it's such a, you know, unique and profound place to be in.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's a good place for us to move to our next segment, education. So, all of you, I think, will agree Oxford is not just an university, it's an intellectual environment. So, I want to ask you how Oxford has changed the way you think about science, learning, or even the world itself.
The best part about Oxford is there are two good things about Oxford: the conversations and free college food. There's so much of free food in Oxford.
Okay.
And the conversations that Oxford offers you. Now I know so much more about Shakespeare, about British law, about philanthropy, about museums. I would never have imagined. Me being a very nerdy kid during my school days, at least, because of IIT pressure, IIT ISS, and all that pressure that you have. That all we see: wake up at 9, go to school till 3, come back at 3:30, go to your coaching class, IIT coaching class at 4, come back at 8, and that's it. That's your day, right? And you don't talk about anything else. You come here and you see, oh, there's a world outside. People are actually working on museums, what they entail. Why do we need museums? What do these humanities people do? I mean, I'm not looking down on humanities people, but now I know that it actually makes a difference and it's important. So Oxford just doesn't bring the name; it brings you the conversations that build you and make you a better person. And maybe that's why we have so many famous people from Oxford, because it's not just your nerdy side growing; it's your social side also growing.
I agree. I think like environment really matters and you don't realize it until you come here because like the quality of conversation is completely different. Like even if you take, for example, the other degrees that we've all done, but the quality of conversations in this space is just another level. Like you can definitely almost always just guarantee to leave your house and you'll literally just be having like a normal conversation with like a diplomat that's like traveled to so many places and their stories are amazing. And I don't think there's a place like it because it really does like push you to not just have your 9 to 5, but have like another 5 to 9 and then 9 to 12 outside of it. And like,
Right.
I think we're all like, I think one thing that we all share at this university is like how ambitious we are and we all just push each other. Like all of our ambition levels are, I think, on the same grade. So it's like we're always learning and we're always teaching and all of us like have so much to offer and teach each other that it is definitely, I think the environment is the best part of Oxford and the conversations.
So Oxford encourages interdisciplinary thinking. Is what
It
I
really
feel.
does, yeah, and critical thinking for sure. And the critical thinking, I think, I don't know if you guys would agree, but comes from like learning from each other and like problem solving. So like saying, how are you, Shopian, should we problem solve and be able to learn from that and, vice versa.
Yeah, good.
I think to build upon that, I completely agree. I think it's all about the people that are in the university. From perspective of coursework, I think you can get good coursework at any university. I think the strength of Oxford is the fact that it's self-selecting in the people that are in this environment. So if you're around other bright minds, of course, the conversations you tend to have are more, I guess, I don't want to say intellectual, which is not a good word. Stimulating.
Stimulating. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I haven't been at another university, so I can't speak for other universities, but that is definitely, I think, probably where a lot of the learning happens over here.
The question for you is physics is already quite philosophical. Do conversations go beyond equations, questions, and the world? Do you actually judge the world and how it's been formed? And what is your opinion about the world? So, is it quite philosophical that way within your friend group?
Okay, so I think when people think of philosophical discussion, people think of something really deep. Like, okay, what is life? Is this alive versus dead? I think Oxford simulates a very different kind of philosophical discussion, which is just as important, which is questioning everything, like even like frivolous things. So, for example, we had a group retreat earlier, so we went somewhere and we got all at dinner, my colleagues and I, and the dessert was a gelatinous cheesecake. And what that means is that if you shake the cheesecake up and down, you see the harmonic mode. So it's called the normal modes, which is basically how sound propagates through cheesecake, right? So you can see like some sort of, they call standing waves, if you know any physics. You can see them going up and down, and actually you can choose to excite higher harmonics of the mode by putting things on it selectively and like putting a line across. And they were talking about the philosophy of what's happening inside and like so doing this, right? So I mean, these sort of things, I think, are actually a lot more meaningful because now you're questioning everything. You're not just questioning what are stereotypically deep subjects, but you will sometimes have a conversation about, I don't know, like the definition of is the ocean a soup. I mean, that's the one that's from the internet, but I can't think of another one off the top of my head. But you have a lot of conversations that are philosophical, where you're trying to precisely define something or like question things that are trivial and everyday and kind of funny. Like, why are you even talking about this? But I think that's where the deepest philosophy lies, because that's actually changing how you view everything at the fundamental level, and not just like just questions like what is life.
Such an interesting story about the cheesecake.
Can I add something
Should we all
to it?
get cheesecake?
Yeah.
Please do.
So I work on what is life and how life originated on Earth. So I was just making some Hungarian trees earlier. And we have some contradicting data that life originated 3.8 billion years ago, and we just came a few million years ago, like just a few days ago. We are very young as compared to Earth. And then I was giving a talk earlier. I guess I should have did that at LMH. At a seminar, and then someone asked that, what does this mean for you in terms of religion? If there were no humans and there was only bacteria, and that recalled me of one conversation I was having with a friend. That what does that actually mean? Well, sciences and all is good. We didn't had any humans back then, so and then the conclusion was that it was bacteria which has already been there ever since. So maybe the real God is bacteria. And bacteria should be a religion. The religion that we have, they don't talk of life beyond a few thousand years back, but it exists from billions of years. What about that? Who's going to talk about that? Maybe bacteria is the real God, not us. That should be a new religion.
That's a title for a new paper.
Exactly. Yeah. If you ever write a book.
Well, I'm going to publish soon.
Oh.
So on this, so keep your eye out on my Google Scholar.
Is it a working title for this paper that you expect to get?
Bacteria, the new god.
Citations.
Oh my god. H index, boom.
Well, the index not if these are more than one per year. For one paper.
Oh, no. It's sending me still one. It's not helping me
You
anyhow
can double your H index.
by getting to 2.
Yeah.
We'll stop the nerdy talk right there and
Sorry.
shift to a different nerdy talk. I want to ask, I think this is seen more in undergrads than postgraduates, that when we think of Oxford, we think people are competing with each other rather than actually being curious and collaborating. Even from our childhood, most of the games we play are competitive compared to collaborative games. And Oxford is the first place I came here and ended up playing collaborative games because I was always quite competitive. So could you tell me, how do you find people here? Are they collaborative? Are they competitive? Or is it a balance of both? What are your thoughts?
I think personally, almost every person I've come across has been very collaborative. To the point where my undergrad studies, a lot of it was done with one of my friends. So we would before the exam in the morning, we'd always get together, revise together. We would share our notes with each other. So we never copied off each other, to clarify, for any of the problem sheets. And I think that's good because it doesn't help either of us if we copy each other's homework, right? But what we would do is, if one person gets the other person doesn't, we're like, hey, I didn't get this. And you send each other the notes, the other person reads through them, see what you've done, and then just tries to do it themselves using similar portion and understand what's really happening within that. And I think that's a very healthy way of kind of approaching a collaboration, because it's not just people aren't competitive and happy to help, but it's actually people are genuinely curious in terms of helping themselves and helping others, right? Similarly, for example, in the lab that I work in right now, every time we have a conversation in the group, people always credit the person who came up with the idea. So it's like, for example, if I'm discussing with a friend, say, oh, we should do this for this experiment. And then she's talking about something in a different context, and I suggested we should also do this. So it'll never be nobody's trying to steal your credit.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very happy to see that university like this is not actually...
And I think
Fostering
Oxford actually takes strict rules against plagiarism. So I think that's been there from day one. Do you think?
Of course, but I think that's true for most universities. But that being said, if you want to get past plagiarism checks, you can do that very easily.
Yeah.
I think it has to come from within, and if in at least everyone that I've interacted with, that has been the motivation, because everybody is here to learn, right?
Yeah.
You know that you don't learn if you just copy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really nice about this place.
To Vidushi, I want to ask, are people more focused on ideas or results?
Bit of both, I think, because without the idea, there'll be no result, right? I think, but when you do have an idea, obviously in research we get excited over it, and then we want to see the results. So I would say it goes hand in hand, for sure. But obviously, I think like the more you learn, the more innovative you become, because obviously you develop your critical thinking skills, and those are definitely skills that you develop over the course of your PhD. So I think like it's not just about studying a degree or studying a topic, it's also the A to Z skills that you learn that come with a PhD, because in your first year you're not, there are probably a few that are innovative. I'm not saying that no one is.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like a journey, I think, and it offers so much, and I think we touched on it earlier that it is definitely like career development, but learning new skills for sure.
Can I add something?
Of
Again,
course.
I want to compare in context of Indian academia.
Yeah.
Indian academia, in many, it's improving in top institutes like IISc, IITs, but majorly it's publish or perish in academia, and it's super competitive.
Yeah.
There are even in many universities in India, there's a strict guideline that if you don't have 2 papers, 3 papers, you can't get your PhD thesis, right? Ideas are not encouraged. Again, for context, it's changing, but the pace of change needs to be more,
Yeah.
and that will only come with better people, better funding,
Yeah.
and more collaborative efforts, which we lack. And collaboration lacks because of this publish or perish, because there's always this fear of our work getting stolen, because we want to publish more in India,
Yeah.
right? Over here, ideas are prioritized more. So if we want more collaboration, first we need to get out of this mindset, and only then we can get better and better. And that has to happen from each small universities, and that can't be only led by universities like ISC or IITs. They need to spread it like a virus.
Yeah. So
I think like that is. I might need to correct.
No
this
pun
bit.
intended. Sorry.
I think I might I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, and I'll tell you later. But I think some of the universities here as well have like a little caveat, and I think there's definitely Asian universities that have, not just in India, that have a caveat of you have to publish X, Y, and Z, and like a little criteria of like this is when you get a PhD. So it's like, yeah, definitely a widespread problem for sure. But yeah, I think it's good that that's not a requirement for our PhDs at least.
That being said, I mean, not speaking from my group is not at all like this, but I have spoken to people who have had the similar experience in Oxford as well. So I think it is somewhat dependent, where you will always find some people who want to publish a parish. But I think overall, Oxford is. I think there's quite a few people who are not like that.
Yeah, for sure. And academia has such a stigma of like being competitive, being like, no work-life balance. And I think like, I don't know if as a student we're kind of like not exposed to the reality of it, because like, we're still learning and we're still students. But yeah, it is like, I think breaking those stigmas and breaking those barriers in like actually understanding what's going on, which is,
do you think the reason for publish or perish, at least in developing countries, is because of lack of resources, and they haven't been established as reputed universities yet? So this is their hallmark of producing good researchers, or saying their university is doing actual work, instead of saying they're just an university and they exist as an institution. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't, definitely it's lack of resources, lack of funding, but I guess in Asian countries, especially in countries like India, Bangladesh, developing countries, it comes a lot from colonial mindset to get better from and to showcase our research to the Western world, which still unfortunately leads academia, even today in most of the fields, right? And that mindset comes from that, we have to be better from them. And still prove, like we have to prove that. How do you prove that? To publish papers. And that's where it comes from. That's what I believe. But still that needs to change. Obviously there's so much good research happening from China, from Japan, and even from India. But if you actually compare, if you see the statistics in top journals, you would not see many Indian authors out there, right? So it comes a lot to quality and quantity, which we need to improve. I work on bioinformatics. Any bioinformatics group can publish, I believe, easily 4 paper a year. Many groups only publish one because it's about either you do quantity or you do quality, and there's a trade-off between that. So you have to, tread the path very carefully. So yeah.
Do you think there's also part of it is, I mean, you said mindset, but more than just the cloning mindset, also from the perspective of, I think growing up, it's a lot of it has been about competitiveness. Like you see, like the classic meme of Sharmaji Ka Beta, right? And I think that mindset still kind of does exist for a lot of people of like, you have to kind of prove your worth, always fight for it. And even if it's not coming from the bottom up, even if you want to be like chill with it, it's possible that the funding agency, the people who are in control, they have a different mindset from the academia, and then you are forced to kind of, that's where the money goes. And like a mix of all of these things where the mindset either from academics themselves or from funding people who run the funding agencies, coming from I guess a Western mindset.
I mean, of course, there's this competitiveness which is in a, like as a child, it's in there,
Yeah.
right? And it's stemming actually from there, but also, as Srishti mentioned, that lack of resources.
Yeah.
But when you don't have something, you want to still prove it. So, and how do you prove it? Publish it. Because you don't have quality, so you compromise on quality and go for quantity, which is a sad truth.
Yeah.
But things are changing again.
Yeah.
Things are slowly changing, and it's getting better with
Yeah.
more and more funding being provided.
Yeah.
But we need more funding in academia. Pay us more.
Yeah.
Please.
Please. Please and thank you.
My next question is, so obviously there are a lot of resources at Oxford. So why Oxford? Priyanshu, I know you had offers from, I don't know, Oxford, Cambridge, ETH, even IIT Bombay.
Yeah.
So why did you end up choosing Oxford over other resourceful universities per se? Because these are all good universities.
Right. So I obviously had multiple offers. I didn't want it to end up in Indian academia at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have been in India, and then although the lab groups I worked were really good, I was very lucky. But again, it was a funding situation. For example, if I need a storage on a HPC cluster in Oxford, it just takes me a day, and I will get it. In India, I would tell it to my PI. It will go to the admin. Then there will be some admin procedure. Then they will raise a purchase order, and then I don't know if it's something big. Then there will be a tender. 10 people will apply to it. The best one, not maybe the best one, it will be chosen, and then it will go to the director, and then to the, I don't know, DG and the PMO and wherever. And then you will get the storage in 3 months when you don't need it anymore. So, I've seen that, experienced it firsthand, right? So it was definitely UK. And then Oxford comes, it was a great group over here, exactly what I wanted to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And then also comes with a complimentary tag, which is again favored around the globe, right? So it was an easy choice.
Yeah. What about you guys?
So I'm going to answer this with the perspective of my PhD instead of my undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was finishing my undergrad, I really wanted to leave Oxford. Like I've been here for 4 years. This is the time where you should go to a new group, experience new things, time to move on. And I did have some really good offers. I had offers from MIT and also from UC Boda at NIST, where I would have been working with a group that is just as good as ours and actually won the Nobel by themselves as well. Right? So I had good options as well, and it was really hard for me to decide between Boda and Oxford. It came down to the last 2 days. I was stressing out with my supervisor trying to figure out what to do. But in the end, the reason I ended up staying in Oxford is because the group over here is really nice. Yes, the group over there is great as well, both academically and personally, but I think the mentorship that I got in this group, how collaborative it is, how friendly people are, like not just at work, outside of work, going to like events and pubs and gigs and just generally, right? The vibe of the group is very collaborative and very friendly. You can't put a price on the mentorship that you get. And having a good mentor is really important. So like, okay, it's hard to leave the people over here. I really want to leave the city, but can't leave the group.
Yeah. Is it fair for me to say you found good work-life balance with your group?
I think, yes. I think the work-life balance is up to you on what you want to do
Yeah.
at the end of it. But from the group, it is very nice.
What about you, Vidusha?
I think for me, first, when I was applying for like PhD programs, it was definitely what I wanted to do. And like the one that I'm doing definitely spoke volumes to me more just because of the direct clinical impact it has and like how I was directly working on like policy stuff, but also with this direct contact and resources. So I think that's why I was really, really interested. And again, obviously, Oxford is Oxford. And I actually only applied to 2 programs, both at Oxford, and then got offers for this one first. So then, and yeah, I think it was more of the deciding factor for me was the clinical impact. That I think like I need to be motivated in what I'm doing, and obviously having navigated, research. Yeah, the end decision came down to obviously Oxford and clinical impact.
I think with all of these discussion, it's time for me to ask you that does Oxford make you smarter or does it make you think differently?
Makes you apply yourself. I think all of us are intellects and you don't actually realize your full potential. Well, you do because obviously you're continually, using it or kind of applying it. But here you have the resources for one and you have the space that encourages you.
Right.
So you just apply yourself more. Because I think like I do believe in like having an aptitude and being smart, etc. But I think hard work has a lot more to do with it. Because if you don't apply yourself, a smart person to, yeah.
Agreed.
I don't mean to add on to that. I don't think anyone can or does make you smart. I think it's just what you drive yourself to do and what you're interested in and how you. It's not just about working hard; it's about knowing what to work, and I think that comes with some amount of luck as well to it. But I think Oxford definitely provides the environment, as Lucy said, that encourages you to do it yourself.
And I guess everyone belongs at Oxford. And let it be anyone, and anyone can make it. So it's not about being smart only, it makes you smarter. What you are, you can be here. There is not supposed to be any filter to start with. So I have many friends from one of the remotest places in the world, from Africa, from remote towns of India, and they are doing so well and they teach me every day.
Yeah.
It's not a dream it's not a dream anymore in today's world. It's a reality.
Yeah.
And you can make it and make them pay.
Yeah.
For you to study here.
I'm glad you said that because the motive of this podcast is exactly that. I want all our viewers who are listening, who are watching, for them to have a peek at what it's actually like to study at Oxford or what it's actually like to be PhD at Oxford. This doesn't look like a quad, but
There's no props over that,
Yes.
People arrange this like that.
yes.
Guys, there is a cord outside. So trust me. Trust
I
me.
mean, there are 4 walls. Is that the definition for quad?
Yeah. But the conversations go above and beyond this 4 walls.
Yeah, and I think like adding to that as well, like obviously speaking for like the England-based system, like I don't do my undergrad at a Russell group, and like obviously I built, I worked hard, and if I could say anything or give advice to anyone like applying, for bridging the gap of like your idea and applying and whether you're going to do it or not, is that just hard work is all it takes to be where you are. Like just use your resources. There's always so many programs out there that like kind of guide you or help you navigate. But I think it's that mindset of I can do this or no, this is too far out of my reach. That is just the deciding factor.
If you are applying yourself and if you know what you're doing, I don't think going to any university is going to change it. Like you can go to a random university and you'll be fine.
Yeah, amen.
It's all about what you do with it, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing having the association, the institution does, it gets your name through the door.
Yep.
And it makes the starting maybe like 5% easier. But at the end of the day, if you are a capable person and if you apply yourself, you will do wonders no matter what university you're in, what university you come from. So it's like I think the obsession, especially in India, around the brand name of your institution needs to disappear because like that means nothing.
Yeah, and I think it goes worldwide to say you just need to apply yourself. It's not just apply yourself to get into Oxford. It's apply yourself in the real world.
Yeah.
Because applications are everything.
It's like Subway Surfers. In Subway Surfers, you had that head start thing, which you got 3 in a week or something. I forgot. It's been a long time. So it just it just gives you that head start, and then you still lose sometimes.
Exactly.
Or otherwise, you can still win.
Yeah.
So it just gives you a head start. That's it. Nothing more.
I'm glad you bring that analogy. I think now it's time for us to move from this segment to our next segment, which is real world applications slash responsibilities. So, being Oxford students or Oxford graduates, I want to ask you, does Oxford create a responsibility towards society, science, or your home country?
Difficult question. That's deep.
What do you mean by society?
Um, Whatever you want to consider it really. For you, for example, it's medical science. For the medical science field, for you coming from Oxford University compared to someone coming from a university which just started, do you think there's a pressure on you to research more, build more things, or build a vaccine for like COVID or anything that breaks out? Is there more responsibility on you to act quicker, or do you think you're just happy with whatever you're studying and you have your goal and you want to reach the goal?
Oh my god. So I think I've not actually felt any external pressures on what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I know that we're the only group doing it. So that definitely, like, you know, as I'm coming towards the end, it becomes your baby, right? Like, your project's your baby. So you do want to see it through and you do want to kind of get closure on it almost.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's definitely pressure to finish what you've started.
Yeah.
But, like, I know the research is also going to go forward and it's, you know, in the right hands. But I think we also have like a pandemic preparedness group within like what I'm doing. So like there's probably more pressure attached to that side of things. But I think, yeah, not external pressure to like, you have time pressures, right, within your PhD. So you have time limits in terms of that and academic pressure. But I think that unless like, I don't know if you guys would agree, unless there's like pandemic going on or you know, something that you're researching on, like what's going on in London or whatever. Unless you're researching specifically on that, then you would. But yeah, no.
I think I have two points to raise on this. First, continuing on what Vidushi said, where if there's a pandemic, in the recent COVID pandemic, we had so much of crap being published in biology. Shushti, you won't believe it. So much of crap in those so-called top-tier journals in Nature, in Science.
Yeah.
Oh my God, people were publishing anything. You go back to these papers and look them today. Like, what is this? Many of those papers were retracted. Why were people listening? Because they were from Oxford, Imperial, Cambridge. That's the only reason. Maybe many of the good papers, I go back and find many of them from India, from many places in Africa, from South America, and no one really, and they were just low impact because they were not really coming from a good university, and no one really knew the truth, right? It was just getting published. You can make a real world impact, so that's it. It comes with a responsibility when you are here. So you have to be very cautious of what you're publishing in such a scenario when you have a pandemic.
Yeah.
And really think of because the world is going to listen to you. And second point, coming on a very personal perspective, I work on antimicrobial resistance. Antibiotics are stopping to work, and we need new antibiotics. And no one's realizing it.
Yeah.
Already millions of people are dying, and in another 20 years, in fact, 50 million people will be dying every year because of this, because of antibiotics. And we will be at the stage in the pre-antibiotic era where people were dying for influenza, due to influenza. And we need to stop that. And that's what I'm working on, right? We need to make new antibiotics. There's no new antibiotic for past 40 years, I guess now. No new antibiotic class. 40 years, no research, nothing. Because people stopped funding it. And then now suddenly people are funding it because they realize the grave concern and they want antibiotics tomorrow. That's not how it works, right? But there has to be a translation. There has to be impact. We are trying to do. I'm trying to do. But it's always a baby step. You always take baby steps, and then thousands of people work together across the globe in a collaborative world, and that's where you get good science out. Otherwise, no.
I think I have a very different approach to the answers to them because, of course, working in life sciences, I think you have more direct impact on people. Whereas working in the physical sciences, yes, what we're working on will hopefully have an impact on mankind in terms of developing new technologies. But the horizon we're looking at are like you're a small cog in the wheel over like a 50-year horizon, and there's a lot of people working on this that collectively makes this work. So I think from the science, individual contributions appear small. Of course, they're all, that's how you add up to a big thing. But in terms of responsibility, What I have seen at Oxford is that there's a big push towards outreach in the department. A lot of people are actually very actively interested in that, right? So, for example, we have a lot of sometimes like school students, especially from state schools around the area, who come in and then they'll do like a 1 week project with us at some point, like at least a couple of times a year, or we'll have a lot of lab tours and open days, and then also with, for example, some media agencies who have come, they've had some filming in the lab. And I think there is no pressure in terms of external pressure for giving back, but there is a drive from almost everyone that I met here to give back in whatever way they can. And I think outreach is one way which I can't tell if the university is doing enough. I don't have the stats for that.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a lot of people that genuinely are trying.
It's interesting you pointed out that, like biology or medicine science, you see the results of the research most of the times. However, for physics, that's not the case, especially for string theory. And a lot of the conversations I have about string theory is it is a dead end. Do you still think people find it worth to contribute to funding, or because we can't see it, we are blindly trusting on subject experts to do their research and give us results?
This is our own circle job. We just try to get ourselves money by saying this is important. And this is doing something.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
They're not exploited.
What is your question in this, really?
Is it worth funding string theory? And for me, I am a biochemist. Right?
He would say no. He would say
No, but
I am a biochemist, and I think string theory is a dead end, and it shouldn't get funding. And those funding should come to us who are actually working on vaccines or
But
Oh my-
anything
okay,
that
fair
helps.
point. Can we
So I
make
just
that judgment as being biochemist,
And
medical science, and
Yeah.
biologist?
I mean,
so
yeah.
all I want to understand is, how do you convince us that it's worth studying string theory for whoever's listening?
There's a very-
I mean, I think there's a question to be made about studying any science.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why is Pianshu studying what bacteria were doing 3 billion years ago? Like, we could be convincing him to that.
Please convince
Like,
No, I agree. You can't single out string theory because
Yeah.
that would be like research is literally like, I don't know if you've seen the meme that's going around recently. You create a problem to solve it because it is literally like you can get negative results, you can get positive results, but it is literally like
Yeah.
it's research. Research is
and I think, well, firstly, I can't speak to string theory because that's not my area of expertise. So I think any response that I give would not be like reflective of what the state of the field actually is. But in general, about research as a whole, not just physics, not just anything that I'm doing, I think people forget or miss the point of research. It's not what that specific thing is researching. It's about all the knock-on effects that it has that are invisible unless you dig it. Right? For example, if you consider why are we spending these $10 billion, or I don't know how much the LHC costs, but something in the order of a few billion, what is the point of detecting these particles? Yes, those billions don't, the detecting particle doesn't do anything for mankind necessarily. Maybe it will 100 years from now. But what it does do is the technologies you develop in researching this are ubiquitous, right? So, like
Yeah.
the internet, for example, that came out of an academic research because that was a necessity for people to use in an academic environment.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with the use that it has today. A lot of the directives that people created, like there's a lot of, for example, data analysis techniques that have been developed for the particle physics experiment that are in use everywhere. A lot of high performance computation that's used in other places. So I think singling out a piece of research and saying, is this useful? On its own, I think the question should never be what is the outcome of this research going to be useful, which it can very well, firstly, you cannot tell whether it'll be useful or not, right?
Yeah.
Like I think number theory, which was done thousands of years ago initially, has had no use until computers are developed.
Yeah.
Right? And at that point, if somebody's like, oh, you shouldn't do number theory, then like
Now it is my responsibility to make sure you guys fight. Which is like, we're going to our next segment, debate. How does it make you feel?
I think we'll agree each other anyway.
Let's see about that. My first question for you guys is, are elite universities like Oxford Are they actually creating better scientists, or are they just selecting people who are already privileged or talented?
Definitely, there's a bias. There's a selection bias in universities like Oxford. But if it's not just the brains, it's also the hard work from which you can get in. But there is definitely a barrier out there to get in, and hence the quality. But you need some barrier. You need something. You have limited resources.
Yeah.
So you need something to choose. And that's how it works across the world in any exam. It's just like the exam. But if you're smart enough, if you're hardworking, there you go.
I mean, I think I have 2 points to that. I think one is that there is, I mean, partially agreeing that there always is a bias, not necessarily, even if you're not even be explicit, it might just be in the fact that if you're come from a position of privilege, you have more access to resources, which means you, through your childhood, get to own your skills better. And at the end of the day, that makes you, at least on the surface, more capable from what you've already developed. Whereas somebody else, or the same person born in a different condition, may not have been able to sharpen the skill as much, right? So there always that bias towards privilege, I think, will always be there if you're trying to select people based off how well they've done.
So you're saying Oxford creates an opportunity, but at the same time, is it creating inequality?
I don't see these cons as creating inequality. Inequality exists whether we like it or not, right? And I think I don't have the stats, and I'm not going to say that Oxford is doing enough. I'm not going to say either way. I'm going to say that it's not. It is or it isn't doing enough. It may not be, but there at least is some effort in trying to kind of compensate for the inequalities where it comes from. Whether that's enough or not is open to debate. But I think the point is that it's hard to get around these inequalities which exist, and I think there are other, like, breaking down those barriers from inequalities has to come from elsewhere, not from the university itself.
Yeah.
And there's also very huge financial inequality. Go 20, 30 years down the line.
Yeah.
And who do we see were at Oxford? They were only sons of politicians, big scientists. I mean, even big Indian scientists. They were actually very rich and influential. I mean, why to go? I guess the people would relate with the series Rocket Boys. Great scientists, obviously, but obviously financially well-to-do. And those who are not financially well-to-do could not end up. Now, maybe now with the advent of internet, with the advent of more resources, now people like us who belong to very much middle class have ended up here.
Yeah.
But 30 years back down the line, nothing, only rich people.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why we also have, that's one of the reasons of very high rent prices in Oxford. Because if rich people want something, they get it.
Yeah. What about you, Ritushi?
I have a different view because obviously I went to a public school. I had the opportunity to go to a private school, but I was very comfortable. And I think my take is definitely just goes back to like applying. I do think opportunities definitely matters, but I think it's country specific. Because if I'm, talking for the English-based system, it is definitely going to a public school. It's how hard you work, what grades you get. And I think for me, what I've been exposed to, I can't speak for undergrad because I think it's a different system here at Oxford. But definitely for postgraduate degrees, I've also been a part of like outreach programs to kind of, bridge the gap between like state schools and Oxford. And, even the intake, if you look at it for 2024, had gone down for private schools for Oxford. So I think like there is definitely like the admission test is there to kind of equalize everyone. And then it's judged on performance, right? Because it is a grade-based system, and then you have your admissions test, and then you have your interviews, etc., etc. So I think to bridge that gap, to equalize everyone, there are efforts there, definitely. But in a place like Oxford, it does really only invite or accept the best of the best, or best in the field, or the highly inclined, right? So I think like I would advocate for the fact that like the university does have efforts towards it. Obviously, privilege has like a lot to do with it, and if your parents have come from a privileged background, and you have ancestors that have gone to Oxford, that's just your path because you go to private schools. But again, like I would say that you can go to a private school, end up with the shittest grades, and not end up at Oxford, right? But then it is literally just like what you do and what you make of it, because I also go, as part of my group, we've done like state school talks to be like, this is the pathway, this is what you do. So yeah, I think it's a personal journey for sure. But yeah, I think it depends on statistics every year, because I think there's definitely like debate every year in terms of Oxbridge, and I think there's a massive, massive stigma attached to the university, which just scares everyone. And I think unless you have conversations like this that people watch and see, you won't know, right?
Well, stigma comes with numbers, right? How would a normal middle class family in India afford to
Yeah,
pay
no, but-
30 lakhs
Yeah,
per
guys.
per annum just as a fees, and plus another 60 lakhs over the course of their undergrad as a living expense? Like crores of rupees. How
Yeah.
would a
I
normal
can't
family
speak for
afford it?
India, obviously, I'm only like talking to the English-based system, but yeah.
I concur with all of you. Oxford is doing a lot from its side, but obviously it's not enough. Especially the college I went to was Somerville, and Somerville's motto was to include the excluded. And I think both of your colleges as well, Lady Margaret Hall and Somerville College, they started as women-only colleges.
Right.
So women did not have access to Oxford or education until 1800s. And then Oxford came in, and then it gave a platform for women to study. And that's why we are studying today. We're quite
I
happy.
will disagree with the fact that Oxford came in, because I think some colleges did not have women, did not have women students until the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
So I think saying that Oxford was progressive for women studying is probably a stretch. I think there were some people at Oxford that were, but a lot of
But
people
that's
were not.
also the time of that, right? Like
Yes,
in
but
the 18th.
70s,
Oh, yeah,
1970s.
not 1970s, I mean
So,
1800s.
Exactly, but that means, but I think regardless,
Yeah, yeah.
as a university, it has been slow.
And there were obviously many smart women, Sarojini Naidu. They're not, like over that time.
For sure. Yeah.
Let's just say pioneers. That might be a better word.
Yeah. I do want to say that we've come such a long way, because like we share this friend that's from a remote town in India that would, like, our ancestors could not even dream of that. So we have come a long way, but we have such a long way to go. Like that movement just needs to keep propelling forward.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like stagnant. Like yeah. So yeah.
All right,
So-
Sabah.
Yeah. Hi, Sabah.
I think it's essentially the ripple effect. You put
Yeah.
a ripple, and then it keeps
Exactly.
creating those waves.
Yeah.
Or also you being the ladder for the entire community, that's your hometown. Or
Yeah.
even for me being the ladder for everyone else to just climb it and come to Oxford, that's what we at the end of the day want to achieve.
Because none of us, right? I don't know about. Yeah, none of us are from privileged backgrounds, but we're here, right? So that we're like an exemplar of the fact that it can happen.
Yeah.
It just needs to happen more.
I'm sure you encourage many other girls in your town,
Yes,
back home, right?
everyone, guys, girls,
Yeah, so-
everyone.
And that responsibility is on us, right?
Yeah.
Like especially girls who are like in very remote area, they are not really that privileged,
Exactly.
less exposed than boys.
True.
That's another debate.
Yeah. To all the parents watching, please do not hesitate. Send them wherever they want to go.
Especially in Asia here, and beautiful smart women, women in STEM.
With that, my question is, do you think Oxford is truly meritocratic in current day, or is it still driven by class, privilege, and access?
Can you define meritocracy?
Very good question indeed.
What do you mean by meritocratic?
Like really good grades or being busted
Are you-
between.
Yes, I mean, in terms of if you're looking at surface level, I think it selects for people that are capable.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is the correlation that capability has with privilege, right? I don't think Oxford, is not going to let anybody in because they're from a rich background.
Mhm.
It's just that if you're from a rich background, you're more likely to have been able to unlock your full potential to be able to get it.
Yeah.
So,
good reasons.
exactly. So, in that definition that you said, it is meritocratic.
Yeah.
But if you start normalizing for, then you have to worry about normalizing for background.
Yeah.
And that's where it's the whole idea of meritocracy becomes a bit the definition becomes hazy as to how do you normalize this. And I think because of that, there's not a good way to answer the question, because there's not a good way to define the question that disentangles class from the correlations of class with merit.
So I want to understand more about this class and privilege. Do you think these elite universities remain socially exclusive for privileged people, or Oxford is doing enough access for people to get in?
It's definitely not doing enough. There's obviously scope of improvement, but I believe there's only this financial thing that's stuck. And as you said, I definitely agree that there's a high correlation with meritocracy and how well off you are generally in life and how many resources you are. So, and I guess that correlation is pretty high, and that's what you see as a result.
Yeah.
So that happens. Now, how much is it to blame for? Well, that's a question. Okay, just like you yourself, myself, we come from normal families, right? We don't come from
Let's say
multi.
underprivileged families.
Yeah, we don't come from multi-millionaire families,
Yeah.
right? Do we? But still, we made it, right?
Yeah.
Some things are happening, but they need to improve. There's this massive scope of improvement because I guess I'm from Mumbai. I had a lot of exposure. Someone sitting in a very remote town in Munger in Bihar, they might not even dream. So more accessibility
Yeah.
needs to be made, and that comes with that doesn't come from Oxford. That comes from the outreach back home
Yeah,
from
from
our
home.
educators and from our peers.
Yeah.
So it's our responsibility to go back, encourage the students, and then tell them that this is the reality. It's not Oxford's responsibility. It's now ours.
Yeah, I think answering the question from a different angle in terms of how the social circles that we have, I think you definitely have some in groups that are quite like people coming from the same background, and I think that there's also in some ways a bit natural where people tend to stick to familiarity, and that's how like my friend group at undergrad was completely international.
Yeah.
I had very few British friends because I think people tend to stick to us. So like we bonded over the experience of being outside of the country, right? And I think those shared experiences I think are what often do create these social circles. That being said, I think I agree that there is definitely some in groups that are like a bit, or I have definitely met people that are quite in some ways classist. That being said, there is a whole section of people who aren't.
Yeah.
So it's really up to you in terms of the people that you identify with, preferably the latter group, and you go and make friends with them. And there's plenty of people that aren't like that. I think the first conversation I had at Oxford, I remember, with the people here was, I mean, not the first, but one of the first, was I moved into my room, or my neighbors moved into their rooms the day after me, and then they invited me over to their room for a cup of tea. And I was like, okay, cool, British thing to do, let's go, let's make friends.
It's tea.
In coffee.
And I still remember the conversation that they were having was about how pre-dyed bow ties are a disgrace. And
Can you translate that in simple English?
bow ties, right?
Oh, bow ties, right.
And
yeah.
you get some that are pre-dyed just the
Okay, okay, right.
It's like a ribbon that you tie on.
What a classy conversation.
So I had classist, not classy.
Sorry, my English.
And I was like, I don't know how to tie a normal tie. I've worn a tie maybe twice in my life. What? But that being said, I was like a bit concerned, like, where have I come? That being said, I think my next conversation was with now who's my best friend, and I was in his room, and we were like just watching, like showing each other funny songs. Like so it's really up to who I think you seek out, but you will find enough people, or there's a lot of people that are actually very nice, social. There are still, of course, some people that are not.
I think with that, I want to ask a question. When you come for your undergrad or your postgrad, you're quite young, you're in your 20s or you're literally 18. And do you think the confidence, the background you come from actually affect your success? Or in at least first few weeks of your degree, is there a hindrance as to how much you can achieve and you'll not be able to achieve it because of the background you've come from, and people treat you differently because you're not traditionally from the environment which you're supposed to be?
I guess I have been in UK. I have never faced racism or any sort of feeling different. Everyone, at least in Oxford, I believe, it's such an inclusive international town.
Yeah.
I personally have never faced it, and I've never felt any different at all. So I guess that's a very big plus point at Oxford. It just makes you feel home. Obviously, there are small cultural changes, cultural shifts, which is fine. I didn't see Harry Potter before coming to Oxford, and everyone was talking about Harry Potter. And and Emma Watson was in my college.
Yes.
When
Did you matriculate same year?
we matriculate together,
Yes.
and she hugged me
Oh.
in my matriculation. I always tell that story. But guess what? I didn't see Harry Potter till then.
Oh my
So I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh my God, Emma Watson hugged me. And then I didn't see her. I'm like, okay, fine. Inside me, I was like, ah, fine, Emma Watson, whoever that is. Anyways, but you have to be extrovert.
Yes.
And at least in the first few weeks, go out to people and talk to people
Yeah.
to get the full experience out of it. I guess not just in Oxford, in
Anywhere
you are.
Yeah. To viewers or listeners, matriculation in Oxford is a ceremony when you're officially accepted to Oxford as a student. You wear fancy dress or a fancy uniform, and then you go to Sheldonian Theatre, and then you say in Latin, you are a student of this university, and then you become student of this university. And it is done by colleges. And Priyanshu and I usually go to Lady Margaret Hall, and Vidushi goes to St. Cross College. And LMH, we call it LMH for short. Emma Watson went to LMH, which is why they got to matriculate together. So if you're planning on coming now, you'll not have the opportunity to.
Well,
matriculate.
Emma Watson, if you're seeing this, hug me again. Now I've seen Harry Potter.
Okay, moving to our next question. This is my favorite question and the final question of this debate. Would you still choose Oxford if prestige didn't exist?
As in knowing what you know now, in hindsight, the experience that you've had, or at the time?
You can answer it.
I think at the time, probably not. Like I said, I want to go to the US. I think if it wasn't about procedure, I'd have chosen an American university. I think in hindsight, I don't think I could have gotten a better education elsewhere. Not saying I could have gotten good education elsewhere, I could have gotten regular education elsewhere as well. But I don't think it could have been better than this, maybe equal. So in hindsight, I would still come here knowing that, given the experience that I've had without the prestige, but I think realistically at the time I would not have.
No, I would not have chosen Oxford if it was not for the prestige. Again, but that's when I look retrospectively. If I were to choose again with all of the options, and maybe if there was even a better option than Oxford someday, I would again choose Oxford if I want to make a decision tomorrow. Because I guess it was the perfect decision of my life. It gave me the conversations that I wanted. It gave me the exposure that I wanted. And the amazing lab group and the science that we do. Although I might not stay in Oxford again, for my postdoc, I don't know. But now I would focus on the lab group more and what kind of research. But I guess maybe because I got that Subway Surfers head start now already, which helps.
Sorry, one thing. One thing I want to add is that for a PhD, prestige, I do not care about prestige for choosing PhD because I think in general, university prestige is not relevant when choosing PhD program. It's all about the prestige of the group or how good the group is. So.
What about you, Vidushi?
I think I would have probably still chosen it just because obviously the program was really important to me, and I think the motivation for me comes from that and what I'm doing because I want it to be, you turn up every day because of how motivated you are for your program, right? So I think I probably definitely would have still maybe, we would have all been at Cambridge if Oxford didn't exist. The other side.
The other place.
The other place.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
You rejected Cambridge for Oxford. That's what I'm going to say.
I guess it's a full experience, right?
Yeah.
I like Oxford more any day than Cambridge.
We have a choice. That's it.
That should be the title.
That's exactly
No,
what I did. I rejected Cambridge for Oxford.
Oxford any day. Cambridge is nice.
Yeah.
Oxford is
Home.
best.
Oxford is home.
And Oxford is home. Cambridge has my love. Oxford has my whole body.
Oh, I was thinking more like Oxford has my wedding ring. Okay.
I think and definitely everything that I've gained in the experience and everything, it would, shape everything, I think. So yeah.
And now we're going to go to our final segment, the elite confession.
I'm rolling size. Oh my
So
God.
I'm going to get some confessions from the smart people on Quad today. Short answers, but honest answers. Let's start with Priyanshu. What's one myth about Oxford, Cambridge, IIT?
One myth about Oxford, it's difficult to get. They can give you money. They have loads of money. Ask me for money. Yeah, just grab it.
So it is possible for everyone to get into
The
Oxford?
myth about Cambridge is that Cambridge is better than Oxford.
You're so salty today. Okay, bless the life. Okay. My next question is one academic insecurity or honest truth about yourself.
It's not just academia. There's more to life, and that's academia is not just enough. Your life does not end at 5 p.m. You have a life outside that, and for which I have an Instagram page now,
Yes.
which I'm just starting, known as Priya Oxford, which is like in Hindi Priya means dear, and in English it's like PRIY, which is initial of my name.
To clarify,
yeah.
deer is not a doe, a deer.
So yeah, but do follow my Instagram page, Priya Oxford, to know my life after the lab. So there's more to it.
Yes. I don't know if you can tell from this podcast, Priyanshu is an amazing person with so many stories and so much phone storage. So please please go follow his page and you'll keep seeing all of us and it's just a familiar face for you to connect to. Okay, so next I'll go to Ayush. Ayush, what's one fear about your PhD?
I have a lot of ideas, and I'm working on a lot of projects.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to finish all of them in time for my PhD. I mean, it doesn't really matter academically if you do them after your PhD, but I would like to have all of them on my thesis.
Yeah.
And if I can get all of them done before my thesis, I probably will try to, but it's going to be a rough time.
Yeah.
And even if I do, I don't know if I'll have enough space in the thesis because there's a page limit.
The sky is the limit. The sky is not even the limit.
The limit is 200 pages. So I think right now that's probably my biggest.
We believe in you. We'll send you prayers. Okay, my next question for you is one thing people misunderstand about Oxford.
I think at least some viewers might have a preconceived notion that if you're coming here, your whole life revolves around academics, whereas I think that is definitely not the case. So if you look at, for example, a lot of people in my group, they're brilliant musicians. I've had the honor of playing with them once. Like some of them are actually just planning to after PhD ends, just take a year or like take a couple of years and go to music. It's not just about academics. I think most people over here have a lot of hobbies that are outside of academics, and I think that's also kind of what helps most people to get into this position in the first place, because you just develop more as a person if you do things outside of work.
And this boy was telling me yesterday that he wants to do a degree in music.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm considering doing a degree in music, but we'll see.
100% sure.
More power to you, I wish you.
Yeah.
Sorry, more power.
Maybe you should do music. Okay, I think that's a good segue to come to Vidushi. Vidushi, my question is a little deeper question than both of them, which is one challenge in cancer or medical science research.
I think it's definitely a debate later, but I think just being a woman in academia for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You're finding your place, you're navigating so much more than just what academia is, and I think it's completely different experiences a man exposed to a woman. So I think that would definitely be my biggest challenge, because I think I'm too early career research to even comment on that yet.
Yeah.
But I can already see that's a challenge.
I have a controversial opinion that women PI are better than male PI.
I agree.
From my
I
experiences.
have only had women PIs, and I am like, touch wood.
Women
lucky.
PI are so compassionate, so understanding. I love my PI. Sam, if you're seeing this, I love you, but...
I love how you said you don't want to do a postdoc at your research team. So there's no
Sam, I might.
Oh, the advertisement again. I talk about all of this on my Instagram page,
Yes.
which is, I'll let you say the rest.
Yes, Vidushi is an amazing content creator, but I find her as an influencer because I'm quite influenced by all the content you do. It's amazing. So please do check out her Instagram page. Is it Vidushi?
It's Oxford DPhil.
Oxford DPhil girl. I'm
Yeah,
so sorry.
yeah.
Oxford DPhil girl. So DPhil in Oxford is PhD. So Oxford DPhil girl, do check it out and do read the comments. They're really spicy and you can
Spicy.
do comment as well. That's my favorite
Yeah,
part
it's a
of your
holistic
Instagram.
approach to the DPhil life.
Exactly. Yeah. If you want to do a PhD, I think it's a good intro to PhD at Oxford. Your page has everything that people should know.
Yeah.
My last question for you, last confession from you is one surprising or out of character that you have done in your life.
In our life.
In your life, yeah. Something surprising or we wouldn't associate that thing with you.
I dipped into I think 3 forms of dancing, and I've been on it was this Indian show. They had like auditions and that style still Priyanshu was last night.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think having a hobby is being like that's I think.
I'm a dancer, so I'll
Yeah, you can relate.
no, I'll make you try another one.
Yes, let's do it and have like subjective.
Yeah. With that, we come to the end of the podcast, and I want to ask you one last question. In one single sentence, what does being an Oxford PhD student mean to you?
High quality research while having loads of fun with friends.
You stole my answer. What do I do?
Exactly what Priyanshu said.
I think for me, the association with Oxford there is the fact that it makes the parents happy.
A proud son
Yeah.
or daughter.
Proud Agrawal ji ka beta.
What does it mean for me?
In one sentence.
God, it's hard to summarize in one sentence. I think,
That could be your answer.
hard to summarize in one sentence.
Amazing. So this is what the quad theory stands for. Different journeys, different perspectives, one intellectual space. To Priyanshu, Ayush and Vidushi, thank you so much. And to everyone watching or listening, step into the quad. Let's talk.